Wallace fought for his country. He fought for his freedom and left his name scattered around his country like wildflowers for his beloved patriotic men to stand by. This today, I tell you the story of when an army of loyal men fighting for their freedom stood up against the English invaders. Stay tuned to hear the Battle of Stirling Bridge. In 1297, King Edward of England was trying to gather a large army of soldiers to fight against the French. And in doing so, he released the Scottish nobles from prison under one command, that they were to cease the conflict and try to make peace between the northern people and the English invaders. Two of these nobles were Alexander Comyn and the Earl of Buchan, both released from prison, sent up north to see that the situation was not calmer, but it was getting worse, and the Scottish people were standing up for their rights, for their freedom. So, the Earl of Buchan had sent back to his word to King Edward, telling Edward, "Aye mate, it's all good up here, no stress. Things will be back and there'll be peace in the land of Scotland." Little did he know that Wallace and Moray were gathering a group of soldiers, of patriotic Scottish men, to fight for their rights, for their freedom, and to take back the land that's rightfully theirs. The independent Scottish army, led by William Wallace and Andrew de Moray, managed to reclaim the north in Inverness, Dundee. All the land north of the Firth of Forth was reclaimed by these men. And where I stand right now, in Stirling, was one of the most important places for access to the north, the gateway to the Highlands, as you like to call it. And for Wallace and de Moray, they were not scared to stand and lose their life for their freedom of their people and for the freedom of Scotland. The word quickly spread down south, and the English king made his commander, the Earl of Surrey, to move his wee arse and gather a group of soldiers ready for Wallace and his men. The Earl of Surrey, being a right wee old prick, thought he was some kind of master of warfare, and so he led his soldiers up to Stirling, a absolutely essential place to cross if you wanted to go into the Highlands. So he led his men to this point, roughly right here where I stand today. There was no castle, there was no ancient buildings like we see now. And over there, through the misty world of Scotland, you might be able to see the Wallace Monument, where the man himself stood, September the 11th, 1297. This, my friends, is the battle for your freedom. This, my friends, is what you all should have stood up for. Freedom. Two armies were separated by the River Forth. The River Forth could only be crossed by one bridge at the time. The English camped on the south, and the Scots in the north. You see, the English were full of cavalry and overly confident. as they believed that the Scottish foot soldiers were no match for their horses and knights. So, in a bridge on this similar location was the place that the battle took place. In this spot here, my friends, was where Wallace and Moray gathered their group of loyal Scottish men to camp for the night, to prepare for what could potentially be the last battle of their life. You see, one James Stewart and the Earl of Lennox, some wee goon puppets in place, the Scottish nobles, they were camped away over there somewhere, hiding, as they did not believe that Wallace had the capabilities of taking the English. As everybody knew, foot soldiers had no chance against mounted knights. And the majority of Scotland's knights had already been locked up or paid off and were fighting on the side of the English. But my man Wallace, he stood up there. He came up with a plan, a grand plan. James Stewart and the Earl of Lennox had so much faith in a Scottish victory that they made their way over to the English camp the night before the battle to plead for a parley, for a truce. This offer was quickly accepted, and Wallace and his men were approached with offers that if they were to stand down and return, they would be rewarded with generous treatment. Wallace replied, "Tell your commander that we're not here to make peace, but war, to liberate and free our people and our kingdom, and we will prove this in their very beards." That was the night before the Battle of Stirling Bridge. At the crack of dawn the next day, the English were quick to move their infantry to the bridge, only to be turned back as Earl of Surrey had not yet awoke. As soon as he woke up, he was raging, and he rushed his cavalry to the bridge. 2 by 2 they were marching over. As soon as half of them made it to this side of the bridge, William Wallace ordered his men down the causeway, all the way from where they were camped, about half a mile walk straight to the bridge. They marched down in a hand-selected group of men, or front line, straight to the bridge, and they came and they chopped the timbers away. This led to pure chaos, mayhem. The horses were throwing the men off the bridge, the men were falling, the men were stabbing each other, mayhem, nobody knew what to do. And this, my friends, is the genius that William Wallace was, and he had masterminded the attack. As they all plunged into the depths of the river, the English knights were helpless, and the rest of the soldiers on the other side of the bank had no chance as the bridge was falling. And on this side was a causeway, and then all bogged. Horses that did make it over were trapped and got stuck. And this, my friends, was how the Scots were led to an absolute massacre, and over 5,000 English soldiers were slaughtered in this spot right here. That's why it's pretty bloody fertile. And the Scots' casualties, bare minimum. We don't actually know how many deaths there was on the Scots side, but 5,000 of the Sassenachs were sent to the ground. The Earl of Surrey was caught, killed and skinned, taken pieces all spread around Scotland as a sign that we could defeat the people that were taking over our land. And you know, the colonisers were not so strong. They got so strong that Wallace apparently made a wee sleeve for his sword out of the Earl's skin. That's it from me, guys. Arran available. The Battle of Stirling Bridge, everybody, and one of Wallace's best victories, one of Scotland's greatest victories over today's colonisers. And one day we will be free, my friends. And Stirling is a proud city. And all of yous, I hope you're proud too, no matter where you're from. Me, I stand for freedom. And Wallace stood for freedom. Liberty. Justice. I make my own choices.